What is up, everybody? It's Nico from the EHG community coming back with some Borderlands, and we're gonna continue on from where we're at. Honestly, I kind of lost track in where we were at, so I'm trying to figure out. I think we just got to the moon base, or we are in midst of the moon base. So let's see where we're at. Yeah, we're I think we just got to the moon base, and we have to take out that laser that Katagawa set up. And oh, excuse me. And right now we're being helped by Reese. And if you don't know who Reese is, he's the main character for Tales of the Borderlands for the Telltale series. So if you do have a chance to go ahead and check that out, by all means just by all means go ahead and do check that out. I also want to go ahead and kind of state this a little bit. And this is kind of something that I wanted to talk about before, but then a lot of people, like, get very upset when I don't agree with them on this situation. Alright, so yeah, we're a little bit further. We're by the laser area. Alright, so what I wanted to touch down upon was people's idea that crunch time for making a game is a horrible thing, or crunch time in general for a job is a horrible thing, because it's not. It is not in any type of manner. People talk about being exhausted from work, and everything, and that's gonna happen. You're gonna feel exhausted from work. There's not gonna be no change, no idea. And I fell down on my own. Stupid me. There's not gonna be no idea that you will possibly be like never. I would say never tired from work. Like seriously, like for some reason, like people need to stop thinking like that and stop, and also think about especially where what type of company actually requires crunch time, especially gaming communities, or like gaming companies. They all require crunch time. And when they do require the crunch time, sometimes it's in choice of the business area, and also it is in choice of the people who designed the game. Sometimes it's not. And with that, it came in regards to like Cyberpunk, where like a lot of people had crunch time and people were complaining about it. Okay, so let me put this in a nicer way, or in a nice way, which I could try to, but it's not going to sound like that. People complaining about crunch time really do not care about the people suffering from crunch time. You really don't. You really, 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 really don't. A lot of people don't tend to go ahead and think that, that sometimes crunch time is needed. A lot of people say that it's morally wrong, which is not true at all. Crunch time is definitely needed in certain areas, especially for like holidays, but also game creation, with a lot of people, especially the gaming community, is very, very impatient. When it comes to patience, the consumer of video games is probably the most impatient and the most spoon-fed. And I don't mean to say this in the most wrongest way, but it's gonna come out that way. But there are games that come out this terrible, and it's because people like the consumer tends to make it worse. I blame the problem of Cyberpunk on the people who are the consumer. Why I do is a major reason. when it came to a lot of things, when especially, you know, things like Cyberpunk, the game could have been pushed back, which is, you know, the choice of the business area. But if they did do that, people would have complained about the game taking long. People would have complained about things. Oh, you know what? It's taking too long for this game to be made. It's already been 9 years. But then when it comes out with all these bugs, people never understand that a game is going to come out with bugs. People need to understand that a little bit more and be a little bit more understanding on certain shit like that. But I'm guessing people really don't want to do it because they're very impatient. And it's just sad that the game consumer is probably the most spoon-fed, impatient gaming consumer of all time. I blame a lot of things on the game consumer, and it's because of the game consumer. Like, you know, devs don't get a break. Devs try to do as much as they can, but they never get a break. And the thing that bothers me the most, especially with things like how, you know, I would say that the devs try to give as much as they can. Oh, I got myself a glitch here. Oh no, I don't. Enable the freaking thing. Why is it disabled? Excuse me. No, but a lot of people just don't seem to understand that it takes time. People don't want to understand that it takes time. You know, it's just very, very sad. And the gaming community screwed up Cyberpunk. And I have to say, I give them all that blame. And, you know, if people are gonna blame, like, you know, the business area for pushing it out, of course I could blame them as well, but the community has to share an equal amount of blame, in my opinion. It's ridiculous that people couldn't just wait for the game to be rushed and they end up rushing out the game. And people also didn't take into consideration the idea of what I would say COVID does. Especially during the time, it was a lot more difficult to optimize stuff. People were working at home, and then they had to do things like separately in certain areas to do it at home, and then it's like, you know, people just hated that idea that, you know, it's ridiculous. It's you know, that it was delayed constantly, and, you know, the consumers are just ridiculous. Especially when I see things like on Facebook groups, you see the literal brain dead talking about a game, and then when people are like, oh, you know what, make your own game, then they get like, oh, that's not an excuse. No, it is. You talk about game design like you know it. You talk and complain left and right about game design like you know it. But then when you get called out about it, nobody wants to say anything. No, like nobody does say anything. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous from those people. And you know what? As I said, I blame the gaming community for Cyberpunk. It's absolutely ridiculous. Whether it takes 9, 10, 15 years, which certain games have taken that long to make, it doesn't make no difference. It could have been a lot better. It could have been well done if you guys didn't rush it. So stop rushing shit, whether it's 20 years, 15 years. Let them do their jobs. If they can't do their jobs, that I don't know what to tell you guys. But you guys are doing way too much. Now you know what's worse. What's worse is that they won't buy the game based off of YouTubers, and that's ridiculous because of the fact that you know, I believe that YouTubers have no place of reviewing a game unless they play it. Some of them have played them, which, you know, they do have a right to review it. But, you know what, as I said, I will not, and I will never ever support a YouTuber who would just go off by doing nothing or complaining about it, and just by looking at the game or hearing what he's saying and not trying the game out. It's ridiculous. That's why I don't even do things like listen to Angry Joe, because when you listen to people like Angry Joe, you kind of see, oh, okay, just the blatant laziness of YouTube from his choice, and the fact that, oh, you know, people will take his voice as garbage. The way that Angry Joe, in my opinion, brings up games like that, and brings up things like you know, and there's an update for this, I'll update it later. It brings up things like certain designs or this or that, and you know, and he talks about the as a consumer, not a guy who knows about game design, which kind of also gets under my skin, because of the fact that we need people to understand a little bit about game design to understand why these things take long. Yes, if you're a consumer, you have the right to criticize, but if you are told that you are wrong, you cannot be upset when you're told that you are wrong. Especially from the guys that make the game. You know, a lot of people have done that. A lot of companies have fought back and shot back, which I prefer, and which I do like, because of the fact that some people need to understand you are not, you know, safe or shielded or stopped by being shot back at, or even from punishment, because you're a consumer. I don't believe that you can't go ahead, if you're paying $60, you cannot be upset that you get shot down for being wrong. Like the whole thing with Spider-Man being upset, like, you know, about puddles, and they explain like, no, you guys are wrong. You guys, that's not how it worked. That's not how it was. Please don't go ahead and do that. And we said we've done a lot different. Not that big of a deal, you know. Especially from Insomniac, people got upset about puddles, and guess what? That's what happens. You were wrong. As I said, you are never ineligible to be punished by being wrong. Oh my goodness, why is this not hooking up? And, you know, I blame a lot of Cyberpunk's failure because of, you know, people literally complaining left and right over nothing. So if you think that I'm being unfair for doing that, then, you know, suck it up, deal with it, because guess what? It was unfair to a lot of people who liked the game and worked on the game for you guys to go ahead and beat them up for stuff like that, or beat up the company because, you know, they couldn't be able to finish it because they had to put it out on a certain time. Now, people were complaining about the game, not just about the unpolished, which could have been fixed, which is usually fixed by updates, which is not that big of a deal. People, relax. You know, back then we didn't have no updates to go ahead and literally change everything, and games were massively buggier then. Mario 64, buggy. You know, Sonic Adventure especially was massively buggy. Sonic Adventure 2 was buggy, and that's GameCube. A lot of games were massively buggy without the updates. They constantly updated stuff left and right, which they started doing from home, and they started doing online to be able to update things, because, you know, they had to push it out on a certain time, certain place. And then with that, you know, people just didn't understand that. You know, it has to be understood that you guys must know that, hey, game design is based on that. It's very embarrassing that people go ahead and complain about something and know nothing about what it takes to put a product out or how to make a product, everything. It's ridiculous. Like, people ask like about like, oh, why is this expensive, or why was this out rushed and then we're paid $60 or full price for it? Because what you're being charged right now is not expensive. Yes, folks, $60 is not expensive for a game, because back then, especially for certain titles or for certain platforms, you would be spending $60 to $70 for a game for games that were not really as detailed, especially of, like, you know, games like Borderlands, like The Witcher 3, you know, games like Halo, games like, you know, Mario Odyssey, or like even games like, for instance, like Fire Emblem Three Houses. You don't get that much detail. You don't get any of that much detail in certain areas. But you guys want to complain about $60, especially based on the hardware. People are complaining, oh, $80 for Joy-Cons, and why is that so expensive when they have drift? First of all, drift happens for every controller. Probably not as much as what people were expecting for Joy-Cons, which I haven't even gotten that bad for Joy-Cons. I've gotten it worse for PlayStation. And also, you know, it's also based on the equipment that it's made with. Remember, Joy-Cons are not just made for things such as, like, you know, like the regular analog stick. It's made with, like, you know, a motion sensor, like motion-based games. It is basically one Joy-Con is basically a controller of its own. That's what it is. It's a major controller of its own. People are like, oh, you know what? This certain percentage doesn't play with two Joy-Cons. It does not matter. What matters is what is the purpose of one Joy-Con. One Joy-Con is meant to be at least one controller for a game. Why do you think that most of the time people go ahead and end up having things like, you know, Joy-Cons played like for one player for like things such as Mario Party? You can play it for one player such as the Super Mario U Deluxe. You can also play it for games such as Smash Brothers. And, you know, some people do play with a Pro Controller, which is not bad of a price, which is $80 as well. But in the process of that, for the Joy-Con being alone, you're getting two of them. So that's $40 each controller. I remember the Wii remote was $50, and the nunchuck was around 20 to 30. So you'd be paying $80, and they were not as well designed as the Joy-Cons. There would be massive issues. They would have to come up with a better version of it, and guess what? There wasn't really that much issues compared to what the Joy-Cons have given. So for people to get on and be like, oh, you know what, it's the big issue, blah blah blah, you know, complaining left and right, it's ridiculous. Because of a price, it's ridiculous. Some of you probably don't have enough money to go ahead and get the Joy-Con, which is absolutely fine, and, you know, you want to complain about the price. Another thing that that especially a lot that the gaming community does, which wow, which people can really agree that a lot of the gaming community does. There's a lot of complaints about things such as and if I may say, things such as, oh, they're making these products cost so much money, but then, you know, they're saying stuff like, oh, they're taking money off the consumer. Like, I have to eat. Like, bro, like, if you are choosing a video game over products that you need that are necessities like food, diapers, even your own child's cereal, for them to eat cereal, you should have a couple of things happen. That's one, you should have your paycheck taken away from you, and then you should have someone manage your money, like a 12-year-old child. Two, if in regards to come to children, you need your child taken away, or you should not have children. Why is a video game more important than stuff like your food, your child's food, your child's clothes, getting your bills paid? Why is all that stuff very important? If you are wasting your money on that stuff and then blaming other companies or gaming companies on why you're broke with that, then that's your problem. That is a major issue with you. Nobody forced you to buy a game over that stuff, which you should be buying that stuff over a game. That stuff is not as important. Like, that stuff is way more important than a game. 10 times more important than a game. Come on, guys. Come on, you guys are like complaining over nothing. And you guys should be complaining about nothing. Like, if I had someone tell me that, you know what, I was supposed to buy milk for my kids to have some cereal, but no, I just went ahead and decided to buy, you know, the next game, which, you know, it's sort of it is your money technically. You could do what you want with it, but doesn't mean it was the smartest idea. It was not the smartest idea to go ahead and buy a game over your kids' milk to buy cereal. Especially some of y'all need to go ahead and buy formula for a new baby. You guys need to be a little bit smarter with your money. Consumer does not. My goodness, it's like literally, like, stuff like this should never be an issue. Like, if you are having that problem, if you are saying that, like, you know, like, consumers, like, or companies are taking money off of my table, like, you are absolutely wrong on major levels. Like, I got into an argument with someone over things like Nintendo's choices, and people are saying that it's not right, but it doesn't mean it's not morally right, because, you know, big companies are not helping out people who are poor. Not in every situation, not in every certain circumstance, people have not been able to get out of being poor. It is ridiculous that people use, like, you know, children being poor over decisions of, you know, big companies, because children have no place of the use of money at the moment because they're kids. They don't know how to manage their money properly. Let's be real. Come on, people. Kids need to learn how to use and manage their money properly. You know where that starts? That starts with people like the parents. Yes, parents, you have to take responsibility for that, because you have to teach your children how to manage their money. And especially how to go ahead and put their money out there. Yeah, it's their money. They could do what they want for it. But then when it comes to a point where they need to save up and they don't have money saved up, and then they complain that they're flat broke, then guess what? You know, they didn't have no way to teach them about, hey, you need to wait, or you need to chill out with the money spending, because guess what? You're not gonna get nowhere when you're just doing shit like that. And guess what? You're not gonna get nowhere when you're just blatantly just going ahead and getting rid of, like, you know, your money just right off the fucking blue because you just feel like it. Like, if I was to ever, like, if my child could, like, if I was spending money and my child ever were to ask me, hey, Dad, can you buy me these Jordans? They're $500, where I could spend it on a video game. I'd be like, no, why do you need a pair of Jordans? Where $500 I could spend and buy you probably 4 to 5 different pairs of shoes. Guess what? He's not getting those Jordans. He's gonna get some other type of shoes. That's it. That's just how it is. But you know what the problem is? We seem to want to spoon feed these kids bullshit and nonsense. So that's just my thing about it. That's because we want to go ahead and give them, certain choices where they shouldn't be making them. These choices that, hey, whether or not you're good doesn't mean that they're right. And with that, a lot of people just get upset when things happen when the kids happen to spend money, especially where they don't know what to do with it, and they want to blame the company. That's a problem. That's a problem with you parents, especially. And I don't mean to call out some people here, but I'm gonna do so. Let's talk about like that stuff with the microtransaction thing, where people are blaming companies for microtransactions. Trust me, in gaming, microtransactions are less of the problem. Microtransactions are way less of the problem. Way less of the issue. When things like cosmetics or brand new things come out, for Fortnite, it's not implemented in the game. No. Some of them are special events and you're like, oh, why am I paying this money? I already paid for the game. No, first of all, Fortnite is free. 1. 2. Also, another thing that people don't understand, especially your parents, or especially some parents, why is your kid who is 8 to 10 years old in charge of your credit card information or anything like that when they shouldn't? Why do they have connections or any type of info or from your credit card to spend money, and then literally you want to blame the company because you decided to be a shitty parent and let your kid go ahead and use that money? Yes, you are a shitty parent if you allow your kid in control of your credit card. That's why in certain games now they have to go ahead and be like, oh, you know what? Before you make a purchase with your credit card, make sure you have actual permission from your parents. Why do companies have to do that? Why do companies have to go ahead and make sure parents make the right decision with your money? If you are letting your kid who is 8 years old in control of your credit card and you want to blame the gaming companies or any other company, you're just a shit parent. That is my final one. Because if I had a kid and they had any type of info, or if they have any type of stuff in the credit card, then they would have, 1, their own credit card, and 2, they will also have no rights to my actual credit card. Like, no, you don't need my info. I'll do it for you. I'll make the purchase for you. And if you make any other purchase, because there was things where these kids were making purchases off like their uncles and aunts, and they want to blame the gaming company. Hell no. I would have, and a lot of companies haven't even refunded their money. I'd be like, no. No. Like, come on. Like, why should I refund you your money? You were stupid enough to go ahead and give your kids your credit card. Nope, now you gotta go ahead and own up to it. Nope, nobody wants to tell people that because apparently it's anti-consumer. Nope, it's not. It's called being some fucking common sense. That is common sense. You don't let your kids with their credit card unless you teach them that when you're done, okay, erase the info, or even, you know what, don't do it without my permission. if my kid went ahead and did that whole thing with the Fortnite and everything with me, and like, you know, stuff like like if he spent like thousands of dollars in money, like it would be a majorly bad punishment for him. Majorly bad, I promise you. If I would have done something like that, where I spend a lot of money on games on a credit card that wasn't mine, or on anything that wasn't mine, my ass would have gotten kicked. Literally, I would have had my ass kicked. Literally, that's not something that nobody should have control of. No, no kids, especially no kids should have control of that shit. Why your kids have control of it, I don't understand, and I will never understand based on that stupidity. Come on, people. Come on. You guys need to understand that when you're doing stuff like that, you should not have your kids in control of your credit card. Come on, that's common sense. It's majorly common sense. But once again, if you tell them any different, you get upset. You can't tell me what to do, man. Like, no, I can. Because you know what? I don't spend it on stupid shit. Because you know what? I don't waste my time going ahead and putting, like giving my kid the idea that he can spend my money because of the fact that, guess what? He shouldn't be spending my money to fucking begin with. Damn. When it comes to stuff like that, trust me, a lot of people are massively stupid. Especially parents. Like why? Why? Like, why does your kid, once again, have control of your credit card? You know what? You know what's even worse? Because this happens a lot. I don't know why it doesn't. It happens in other, like, you know, countries across the world, but, and this is just like a gamble of it. But why does it happen that they want to blame, you know, microtransactions for that, and they say that it's a gambling addiction? That is the biggest fucking lie I have ever heard. That brings out one of the biggest lies. Like, if you think that microtransactions cause gambling addiction, no. I don't believe that shit for a second.
Shit! Oh, that was amazing! Eat my big bowl, Katagawa!
Damn, okay. Oh, he's pissed now. But yes, like, it does not go with that. A lot of countries have an issue with gambling because of the fact that they're mostly having issues with digital casinos and regular casinos. Yes, folks, that is a problem. Yes, folks, that is the main reason. Yes, folks, you cannot be upset because of that. Okay. That emote. No, but yes, if you are upset because, oh, you know what, my like, apparently that your kid got a gambling addiction over microtransactions. If you are stating that, you are a big ass fucking liar, and I will tell you that to your straight up face. You cannot tell me where in no instance has a microtransaction caused fucking gambling addiction. There is never no instance where a microtransaction has caused gambling addiction. I will call you a bold ass liar to your face. Yes, I will. There is no idea of that. If you're telling me that, oh, it's happened, you're a bold-faced liar. It has never happened. When it comes to gambling addiction, especially in other places like Europe or in other countries outside of the US, it's because of casinos and electronic casinos. There is nothing of the idea of microtransactions. When kids have went ahead and spent thousands of dollars from your credit card, and you want to blame it on things like, oh, it was microtransactions. Nope. It was you. It was definitely you. You were stupid enough to go ahead and allow that. It was you. That's why I just don't believe any of that shit. I laugh at that shit a lot. Oh, microtransactions has caused a gambling addiction to my child. Wow. Okay. I will believe that. I believe that before like any other story. I will believe Bigfoot actually exists before believing stupid shit like that. That is true. I will believe Bigfoot over that because of the fact that that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. And literally, I'm telling someone, please combat me on that. Because if you're gonna combat me on that, I would love to go ahead and give you the dress down of a lifetime. Like the verbal dress down of a lifetime. Because that's ridiculous. If you would say gambling addiction is made by casinos, then yes, I would agree with you always. But then at one point, if you're telling me, oh, I got a gambling addiction because of microtransactions, I will call you a bold-faced liar. I will call you a massive bold-faced liar. And try me, because I will literally do that. And that there's not gonna be a never when I'm never gonna do that. Seriously, like come on, like you have to be ridiculous to believe that freaking microtransactions causes gambling addiction. Seriously. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. Like I wouldn't laugh about it. I would laugh in your face, honestly. I would just, because that sounds like the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like please combat me in this. I promise you, it's not gonna be pretty. It will not be pretty.
Nice save, Reese.
Alright, there you go. We got the Volt Shard, we got everything.
Rest in peace, Respawn. Rest in peace.
Got everything here.
That's the second piece of the vault key. Bring
Can
it
I
to me
level up
aboard
now?
Sanctuary.
Is it possible that I can level up now? That's a level up now. Gun, pistol. Pistola. Oh, nothing. Alright. Alright guys, we went ahead and defeated the boss here. And I kind of went on a rant, but I hope you guys understand what I'm talking about. Definitely subscribe to the EHG community. Definitely turn on notifications when we get new streams and new videos set out. Definitely join us on our Facebook group, our Discord channel, and make sure to go ahead and check out our merchandise. But this is Nikko from the EHG community. Stay tuned for another episode of Borderlands 3, and remember that there's always something amazing on the horizon.